I think your work, like your art, demonstrates that in a way. Like you talked about this, mathematical, like kind of algorithm that seems to
Yeah.
be in place that facilitates that soul material connection and facilitates this dance between the polarities, and then that ever like evolving like learning mechanism that's happening in the universe.
Hmm. Hmm.
And as I've looked at your art, it's like your art portrays that geometrical structure of like the mathematics that are playing out in our universe. So maybe we can switch gears and talk a little bit about the activations that occurred that started your art in the form that it's in now. And maybe we can share a little bit with the audience so they can get some of those visual activations.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me actually share a little work here while I'm talking, and I can kind of explain how things went down in the 2016 and 2017 phase of my life.
I would bet a lot of people watching right now and listening were activated around that time, because I'm meeting more and more people who had a similar just like activation, awakening in that 2016, 2017 timeframe. There seems to be something significant about that for a lot of people.
Right? Are you seeing my art screen here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. So you can see here, these are all my links on the right side here, right? Um, Basically, the way that this goes is that, and I'll go back here really quick. Sorry about that. You can kind of take a look at this while I'm talking a little bit. So in 2016, I started, getting all this sort of unctioning to kind of get back into my, sort of spiritual path, if you will. I started remembering this vision. There was like this vision of this, this dark man with a white beard and just looking at me, sort of interfacing with me. And it was really interesting because I didn't know if that was like maybe a movie that I saw, or something. And so I was asking my dad, I'm like, did we watch like a weird movie, with like this like very, real and strong looking dark man? He's like, I don't remember that. But I mean, it could have been either way. There was also another vision of like these Egyptian ruins with this dark sky. And so there's these two images that were impressing themselves upon me. And basically, it just kind of was like a sort of like a memory that sort of triggered something within me, like a key unlocking a door. And so I started looking into different ideas about reincarnation and metaphysics. And I looked at Michael Newton's book, Journey of Souls. You know that book?
Yeah, yeah.
And just started reading about that, and that also was like a big awakening for me, this idea of other realities, other lifetimes, other experiences. And basically it kind of came to me that I needed to think in terms of how I'm sort of fitting into my experience. And so I started thinking about, well, how can I have, I up until that point, I'd had a lot of lucid dreams. I'd had a lot of lucid dreams. I'd had a lot of things going on during hypnagogic states. I'd had a lot of things happening during meditations. I'd had a lot of very spiritual dreams. I'd had some dreams that were just like, these sort of abstract ideas of trying to explain like how source does things, and my dreams are always spiritual. They were always sort of informing different ideas about consciousness and about collective consciousness.
So it's like you were
And so
getting
what basically,
guidance.
what's that?
It's like you were getting guidance for years
Yeah,
in these like
yeah.
little like snippets.
Albeit somewhat sort of encoded, right? And so kind of like if you look at this metatoxic feedback on the left right here, basically, this piece, this being, this higher dimensional being playing with this algorithmic structure and trying to work things out with it. That's the tool that being has to kind of work with. And so I sort of found myself in this space of trying to figure out what tools to use. And so like, I use some meditation. So I started, looking into, some ideas about, psychedelics. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do anything illegal. Like I can't do that. So around like 2017, marijuana, cannabis became legal here in Vegas. And so I did some studies, I did some research and found out that eating edibles could induce a psychedelic experience or whatever. You could get your spiritual experience that you want. And so basically, my spouse made some like canna butter, and what I would do is I come home from work and I would pop a cookie, and then like 45 minutes later, that's basically how the transmigration series started. was that in those spaces, I was able to actually get beyond my sort of the weight of my human perception and sort of elevate and sort of access higher dimensional energies. And so when you look at some of the earlier pieces, so I'm going to kind of scroll back a little bit and I will go back through these. So Easter Sunday 2017, I went into, I think we had a lot of edibles and, you know, there was a lot going on in the energy. I had been asking for a major experience. I'd been asking Source for this. And I went into this experience, and this piece on the left here, this piece called Star Children,